Mr. Lundy, would you like to comment?
How are you doing? Are you well?
Would you like to comment on the allegations made against you by Senator Sivray, Mr. Lundy? Mr. Lundy, I'm sure you can understand my worries being a parent of 2 children. Any comment you'd like to make, Mr. Lundy? No comment. You don't want to put the parent's mind at ease, Mr. Lundy? No. I'm a parent of 2 children and I'm worried about the allegations made against Senator Mr. Lundy. No word, Mr. Lundy. See you soon.
Well, we've had an extensive scrutiny panel meeting today with the Education Department, the Minister for Education and his Director. One of the great questions which some people want answered was relating to the Director. Various allegations have been made about the Director, but it's not apparently an issue which can be raised at scrutiny panel level. Why is that? Why can't it be raised at scrutiny level?
Because scrutiny basically focuses on policy, and certainly if there are concerns about that issue, those are the sorts of issues that were either raised with the relevant politicians who are handling the matter or raised in the Open Assembly of the States.
Well, it is a policy issue. Whether their allegations have been made, a policy decision has been made, presumably by the Minister, not to suspend this particular Director. That surely is a matter of public concern. You raised it the other week in the States about suspensions in the general way.
Yeah.
The Director was named in the States the other day. The allegations have been fairly well broadcast in certain areas. Why can't it be discussed? I don't understand why it can't be discussed at a scrutiny panel level.
Because basically the scrutiny panel doesn't want to get involved in individual cases with all the emotion and so forth that would entail. I've no problem with it being raised in the proper structures and a proper debate taking place. In fact, since we spoke to you, of course, the issue has moved beyond should Mr. X be or be not suspended to the issue of how we use suspensions.
Indeed.
Whether we use them, it is indeed possible in this kind of rather febrile environment, whether it's possible to use them as a neutral tool, or whether when you're using them, and there are other officers obviously who have felt the fire, so to speak, whether you're using them, you are making some fairly major presumptions of guilt, and quite frankly that does worry me.
Yeah.
I think it's the sign of a mature democracy. How do you deal with people against whom serious allegations have been made? And in a way it's a test of your values.
How do you deal with the people who want to make allegations? Because unfortunately the scrutiny panel process, at the moment there's no regular participation by the public. Individuals can't raise issues, and it can be very difficult on sensitive matters like this to raise them anywhere. So if allegations of this sort have been made, and if the Minister won't respond, and if the states get suppressed, they're not allowed to name individuals, it becomes virtually impossible to have a meaningful discussion.
Well, the way to raise them is to raise them through the complaints process, and if in the view of the complainants that process isn't working properly, and remember there's a difference between working properly and finding people automatically guilty.
Yeah.
If that process isn't working properly, then rather, as we did discuss at scrutiny, we raised the appeal processes across various aspects of education. If those processes are not working properly, then clearly that's what we have to get strengthened. But I'm not sure just by raising names and getting embroiled in major emotional exchanges about names is the way to strengthen the system.
No, but if the sort of allegations that have been made, an officer really, for everybody's peace of mind, you'd think ought to be suspended. You would think that would be the logical thing for everybody.
I would think that is the case, and I would expect at this very moment in time that the Minister is sort of considering his options.
Right.
He's looking insofar as he can influence it, and of course apparently it's not his decision. It may well be the Chief Executive's, I understand. Insofar as he can influence the decision, it's up to him to go to the people making that decision and make a representation.
Is it something you'd take back to the States?
Yes, I'd take back the process.
Yeah.
I get very, very uncomfortable, believe it or not, about getting involved in close quarter discussions about names and about whether Mr. X is guilty of this or guilty of that, because while obviously that decision is ultimately to be made, I think it ill behoves us as the people complaining about these things if we don't respect procedures that we're fighting for.
Yeah, just finally, because obviously one of the uncomfortable aspects is I'm sitting there today listening to a couple of hours to a director of a department sitting there. I mean, it could I'm not saying it will happen, but suppose 6 months down the line the guy might be in all sorts of trouble with the courts. I mean, there could be criminal sanctions, all sorts of things could happen. Now, in the meantime, we're listening to the guy explaining and forming policies for a whole department.
Yes, and as I said, I would expect the Minister to be looking at that very, very carefully, coming to his own, obviously, decision and judgment about the matter and then referring it.